Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are thrilled to have a conversation as a start to your morning or whatever time of day it is from wherever you are with Jesse Valenzuela from the Gin Blossoms to talk about what it means to build a band and the entrepreneurial experience and skills that go along with that. My name is Lauren Dunning. I have the opportunity to serve as the Director for Student Outreach and Engagement within the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, more commonly called Edson E+I here at ASU. And as part of the work that I get to do, I get to support the experience at Fusion on First, which is a wonderful space at our downtown Phoenix campus, where students with creativity and a variety of interests can come together and advance their goals and interests, and also live, eat, sleep at ASU. And so today we have two co-hosts that will introduce us just in a moment that are both part of the ASU Popular Music Program, which is one of two academic programs that actually gets to have classroom spaces within Fusion on First. And we are live from Fusion today. So right now I am in a studio space next to our co-working building. We have Jesse with a wonderful background who's actually in what we call a pop-in pod, which is a private space for conversations. And then our co-host coming from one of the conference spaces in our co-working session. So we are just so thrilled to be here and have this conversation with you all. And we'd love to make sure to also share that throughout the course of this webinar, we are excited to hear your questions and hopefully do our best to answer them at the end. So we have some questions prepared as part of the conversation, and we will be moderating the discussion today, but we would love to get started with some really quick introductions. So Elena and Mia, if you would like to introduce yourself really quickly.
Hi, my name's Mia. I'm a first-year student in the pop music program, and I've already done so many amazing things with this program. One of those being getting to work with Jesse on these events with the entrepreneurship team. My personal goals for music, I want to be probably a solo artist, but I think that this can be a really interesting conversation for people who want to be in bands, like a group setting, but also for people who want to be a solo artist and have a band for like a live performance. So that's me.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Yelena, and I'm a first-year student on Popular Music program. And right now I'm specialized in vocal performance. Just as me, I would love to be a solo artist in the future. But right now I have an experience of performing with the band in my ensemble class. So I believe that this discussion that we're going to have today is going to help a lot of students to understand how to work in a band more efficiently and how to communicate with people, how to express their creative ideas, and how to reach their creative goals in a collaboration. Yes.
Great. And before we start, so Yelena and Mia, we're so excited to have you both asking questions today and leading us in this conversation. And we are thrilled to have Jesse join us. And Jesse, you'll have the opportunity to more informally introduce yourself in just a second. But for one time, I am going to read a more formal bio to really communicate the value and expertise that we have in this virtual room. We are so excited to host Jesse in multiple conversations throughout the week here at Fusion on First. But for everyone that maybe is excited about the conversation and not familiar with who Jesse is as our guest, I wanted to introduce that he is actually a founding member of the Gin Blossoms and was responsible for writing or co-writing 5 of the band's top 40 hits, including the #1 single, Till I Hear It From You. As a songwriter and performer, Jesse has sold in excess of 10 million records worldwide. And that's right, 10 million. So what an accomplished career. In addition to the work you've done with the Gin Blossoms, you've written, produced, and performed with a wide-ranging variety of artists, including Stevie Nicks, to the Kiss, to the Rembrandts, among many others. And you've been really successful. I'm shifting from he to you since you're here, but your songs have been featured prominently in countless films, including How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Wayne's World, Empire Records, and many others. You've written extensively for TV, including a theme song for a show, and had your songs used during a halftime spot in the Olympics, as well as scored shows for the Travel Channel. So whether you're being featured on Friends or Cold Case, it's very clear that you've had a career that your music, whether it's been something we played directly, has definitely been things that we've heard in the past 30 years or more. And we're just so thrilled to have you be willing to share your experience and expertise with us in this virtual conversation today. So welcome, and I will stop with the formal bio, but just thank you so much for being here. And if I missed anything, please let me know.
No, I thank you. That was very nice.
Okay, wonderful. Well, with that, I'm going to go off camera, but we're so excited for Elena and Mia to continue this conversation with you.
All right. Thank you. Hi, girls. How are you?
Hi, good.
Doing pretty well.
We're gonna ask you a few questions. So I'll start us off by, we just want to know how you got into the Gin Blossoms. What was the process like of becoming a part of that band? And just tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I wasn't in the Gin Blossoms till I was probably 25. I had known the guys before that. Some of the other guys we started the band, Doug and Bill. But we had been musicians around Phoenix and Tempe, and we had known each other. But at about 24, 25, we started playing together very in a very relaxed setting, just to see if we enjoyed each other, and we had a good time, and we played together for about 6 months and decided that it wasn't a good time, so we stopped again, and then we got together and probably another 6 months later. So that's really kind of what happened. But the background is that they were in bands and I was in bands all over Tempe, through high school, through those college years where I should have been in college, but I wasn't. And we sort of formulated our music around Arizona State in Tempe.
Oh, that's incredible. What role did you play in forming the Gin Blossoms, or maybe many roles?
What role?
Yes.
Our goal? I'm sorry.
What role did you play in forming the Gin Blossoms?
Well, when we first started, it was like I say, it was Doug and Bill, and they had just moved back from Portland, Oregon, where they went to seek their fame and fortune. And they were up there having a great time for a couple of years, and they came back to Phoenix back to the heat. And I was playing a gig on 5th Street and Mill Avenue, a place called Edsell's Attic. I don't know what it's called anymore, but I played there every Monday night and weekends. I was just by myself as a solo artist. So they would come drink beer and hang out with me. So that was initially what it was. It was just the three of us playing music, and then we found a drummer and started rehearsing. Later on, as the band took off, I became the guy who had to book shows and keep a schedule, that sort of administration kind of role.
And this is definitely a very important role to play, and it's great that I think that it is very important for a musician to have this trait to be responsible, right?
Like taking ownership,
Yes.
ownership.
Well,
Your career.
I think you're probably right. I know that you're not going to find usually, I don't know these days, but back then most guys weren't that responsible. It was really about having a good time and relaxing. So and I wasn't the most responsible person. It's not my strong suit, but somebody had to do it, and so it fell upon me. And it wasn't the most rewarding aspect, but it sort of has always remained something. And even today, although the guys are much more involved with the business than they were when we were young, I think it's just some things are set early on and they just remain that way.
So I'm assuming that maybe you've changed in that way, that maybe you didn't start out with such a business mindset, but maybe you have more of that now? Like, I'm interested to hear about your entrepreneurship stuff with music and like creating a career from it.
Well, it is interesting. The Gym Blossoms had such success that it leads you to opportunities. And some guys want to take those opportunities and put themselves in a room to write with other people or write for a TV show or a movie. And some guys, that's not really their interest, and they'd rather enjoy their time in different ways. Because you're very busy. We were certainly very busy, but when I found that opportunity to write with other people and see if something could happen with it, I did. It was just something I thought would be fun, and I love the guys. All the guys in the Gym Blossoms were really great. They certainly never had anything but happiness to see anyone else pursue whatever they want. It's just, people have their own interests, and I'm glad everybody was respected, but I always wanted to try and do it. And I did it to varying degrees of success.
We already touched on this topic. What does the business side of a band look like?
Well, when you're first starting, it looks like lining up shows. You want to work as much as you possibly can. I think that was the key to our success. I think that playing in Tempe 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, put us right in the middle of the storm, where all the kids were, all the ASU students. We were a little older than the ASU kids. We were probably 25, 26, and they were like 18 to 21, I suspect. So I think the success at that point is, and the key to success is to work as much as you possibly can, and find a way to stay out there. It's not just about the money, but that little bit of money you make when you're playing live does a couple things. First off, it allows you the ability to quit your terrible day job so that you can really just really just concentrate on writing songs and learning songs and playing music. It also allows you to have a great experience, which is free from responsibility of work other than the work that you really love. And when that happens, it starts to grow confidence in you as a musician and as a songwriter, as a singer, whatever it is you do, because you feel like I'm fortified with the ability to take care of myself, even if it is. I mean, we didn't certainly make very much money, but everyone was able to keep their apartment. We didn't drive really. It's a modest living, but it's the step to take to the next level. And I think that's important. So working as much as you can.
So were you guys making a living like just from gigging, or like when did you start making a real living from music?
We got together on Christmas, and I think we were probably making our living at it a few months later. But there was a big choice made. When we started, we were an all original band. And we made a conscious choice to learn 50 cover songs or whatever it is to play a whole night, to augment our original music with a lot of covers. And that ability to play for 3 or 4 hours made all the difference, because then you can make the bar will pay you to play from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. And they're long nights, but you can make your money and live your small life.
That's really interesting, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like some people have a hang up about performing covers. They want to be like, oh, I'm a real artist, I want to only perform originals. But sometimes like covers can really help you to make a living.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that covers can bring people into recognizing your own music too. If you beat them over the head with nonstop new songs or your own material, then I don't know, it kind of can create a divide, maybe a wall's put up. But if you segue between a couple different songs that they already know, they're in a good mood and they're drinking, and all of a sudden they're going to start asking, is that your song? And do you guys, have you recorded it? Where can I get a copy of it? I just think that we learned, because we certainly were of that frame of mind. I always played in cover bands myself, but the band, when we started, the idea was it was an all original band, and we had some success, but it was nothing compared to the success we had when we decided that we'll go ahead and play from 9 to 1 and learn those covers. So I think you're onto something.
That's incredible that we can, find out this information from you, from the person who actually had experience, of building a band, and then, gaining recognition, and then finally finding success. But when you needed a certain business advice, when you were in those early stages of building a band and building a brand for your music, who did you go to for the advice?
Well, we had each other. We were a very tight-knit group, so we didn't really trust too many other people in that regard. I think we just sort of kept our head down and kept working. There was a very really smart person by the name of Laura Lewin, who worked at a bar in Tempe, and she took us on and started really administrating some things and straighten our business out. She's a very successful CPA in Tucson now. Not surprising, but she was a smart woman, and she realizes a few things we needed, very basic things. We needed a little money to buy some equipment, and we needed money to buy a van, because at this point, people started booking the band from Flagstaff to Tucson through Austin, Texas to New Orleans, and we could start touring. But we couldn't do that with the old van we had. So she took us down and co-signed a loan for us, and we bought a Ford Econ line and a trailer, and we were able to start touring. I think that every success has a lot of acts of kindness, and that was certainly one of ours. And she's a very sweet person, real helpful. And there were some bar owners helped us when things start to take off. For example, we were supposed to play in New York City for the College Music Journal, which was a big deal at the time. I think it still is, but we weren't signed yet, and we certainly didn't have the money to fly to New York City and stay for the 4 days it was going to take to play this conference. So Laura, the same lady, reached out to some of the bars we were playing and said, can we have an advance on the money we'll make, and we'll pay. She negotiated a whole thing and came up with the cash through the kindness of these bar owners. They reached into their pockets and helped us. So it was a real community effort. And I think that people in Tempe then were very proud of us, and they wanted to help.
So how does one get a community like that? Like you had so much support, people just willing to help you. Like, well, and also you said you were super tight knit with your band. Like, how do you even just find those people that you connect with?
Well, it's a long process. Like I told you earlier, we were by that time in our mid-20s. So it would never have happened at 21. It would never have happened at 18 or 19, because by the time you get to your mid-20s, you've been kicked around a bit, and you understand what sacrifice is. And so, as we've discussed earlier, we were just talking in the other room about a band. Everyone's going to have their own priorities. As Elena said, you may want it to be the best show in the world, the next show you're going to be, but if the bass player, for example, has a lot of financial concerns and has to work these extra hours and can't make those rehearsals, that's the difference. So I think that it is just a matter of staying in the game and staying positive and keep working. Because like I say, it wouldn't have happened for us at 21, 22. I knew those guys when I was 21, 22, and we weren't the same people we were at 25. We were not very smart yet, but we were smarter than we were at 20.
This is a question regarding creativity. What does creativity mean to you, and how do you recommend developing a supportive community as you pursue your entrepreneurial and creative goals? Which is basically, we discussed it already, but this is more about creativity specifically. What does creativity mean to you, and how to find people who has the same vision for the projects that you're working on?
Well, I think creativity is the whole thing, isn't it? Creating something out of thin air is a real trick, and it's magic in its own right. And I think it requires patience with yourself and patience with people around you. And the biggest issue, and I keep coming back to this, is that it's a matter of hours and hours and work, because you can have a great idea, one single great idea, but if you don't spend the time to bring it to fruition, it's just going to be an idea, and everybody has an idea. So if you have a song title, you have 3 great words, and you know that that's a great song title, and you're humming around the house, and all of a sudden you think, oh, I've got a verse, and you write it down. Well, you need to spend the time that's going to create the next part, which would be the chorus. And I'm not saying you have to do it all in that one setting, but what I'm saying is it has to remain a big focus for you, that it's going to be something you're going to give attention to every day. So for every day, I think to be respectful of that creativity force, you need to find a place to go to work every day and give yourself a chance to be great, like at 60 minutes or an hour and a half. And if I know everybody has a schedule and they have to work a lot and go to school and responsibilities, but you deserve that time. So try and find it. And if you do that every day, I'm going to tell you, in 2 weeks' time, you're going to see that one idea has become something. And if you're practiced at it, which you will become, you have a facility to reach that creativity faster. And I'm just telling you from my experience. Look, I'm 60 years old now, so I don't write like you guys write. I don't write. I'm certain I don't write as much as you guys do anymore. That my time is gone. I can still get to that because of a lifetime of experience doing it, but I don't have the super strength of your youth. So that's your time to do that, and it can be done. It's not unobtainable. It's just a matter of hard work.
Like you just dropped some real knowledge right there.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate, but I've got so many half-written songs.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to hear you say that creativity is like something you have to work on. It doesn't just come to you. Like you have to actually sit down and work at it.
It's really true. It is true. And I think once you accept that, anything can happen. I mean, I've spoken to really gifted, exquisite songwriters that I've luckily met through my career. And to a man or a woman, they will tell you, it wasn't natural for me. This is not a gift. I didn't just wake up and think and could write songs. I spent a lot of time knocking on it.
Yeah. My next question I have for you is, I really want to know how you've sustained success over time, because I feel like it's one thing to be successful for a time, but to be able to have a music career that sustains you for your whole life is really special.
Well, I'm a pretty fortunate person in a lot of ways, and things have gone my way, and I try to stay um I try to stay ready, and I put myself in positions where I can find work. So I think that means it puts you there. And I'm lucky that I met the right group of guys, and we still get together and play music, and that's really sustained my career. And then the songwriting career, the film and TV career, has been just uh, just working, just staying at it. And you know what? You have to be a little lucky, and to be lucky means you have to put yourself in the position to be heard. So if somebody asks you to do something and you're tired and you want to go home, once in a while you should just go ahead and do it. Sometimes you have to just go home and get some rest too. But if it's a situation that looks like it could be promising and could lead you to something fantastic where you can create work, then you should push yourself a little harder. And I don't have to tell you guys this because I've seen you working, and I've heard your stuff, and I know what you guys create. But it's not about the bread, it's not about the money. I mean, you need it to support yourself, of course, obviously, but how good you feel when you create something, that buzz you get when you listen to a demo that's done really well, or a song that gets picked up by somebody. That's why you keep doing it. And the more you do that, you'll make the bread and you'll pay your rent and you'll be fine. But that's really the goal.
This is such an encouraging message.
Mm-hmm.
Very refreshing.
Yes.
Because I believe a lot of people in the creative fields hear a lot of the opposite from their surroundings, and some people are not lucky to have, friends or family members who would support their ideas or aspirations. So it's amazing to hear that as an artist, you can actually make living from your art.
Yeah, I do feel like there is an amount of luck though, because some people really do have to make that choice between like their true creativity, like what really drives them, and what people actually want to listen to, and like what will sell,
Yeah, sometimes
I feel like there's an element of luck to that.
Well, sure, of course. But you have to make a choice. I think my choice, well, the idea of suffering abject poverty, I mean, I hope that never happens to anyone, but there is the idea, and the people who care about you, your parents and your friends and loved ones, who say to you, "Oh, I don't know, that's a pretty rough field to go to. Is that sure are you sure that's what you want to do?" They're only telling you that out of concern and love. But in our society and in our culture, the idea of being an artist is a lovely idea, but no one really wants their child to grow up to say, "Hey, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a professional singer-songwriter," because you don't want your children to suffer abject poverty. But I don't think you need to. I think there's lots of levels of success. I think there's the huge world beater success, and then there's a success as a TV writer of music. There's success as a singer who simply plays around their town and does maybe regional, but they can pay their way. So it really depends on how much you really want it. And invariably, I know a lot of artists my age who still do other things to pay for their way to make music. But that's because the passion of making music and being creative is that strong that they're willing to sacrifice. And at the end of the day, if this is going to be your path, it's because you're an artist and there's really not much else you can do.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to ask you this question when it comes to inspiration. What was the source of your creative inspiration? What do you, for example, you know that you need to write a song, or you're looking for this, spark to start the project. What do you use as a source?
Well, I think it's important. It's important to stay actively involved in conversation with friends who pique your curiosity, who challenge you. You know, I'm sure you have friends around you in your life, and you're like, God, they're pretty funny, and they have an interesting view of life. I think you can find a lot of bits and pieces of language from people like that. It's also very important to stay to read a lot. You have to read, and in the creative writing departments in colleges, I know they recommend that you read a lot of fiction, because you just need to be surrounded by words all the time. And you need to be surrounded by language, because you want to see the way people are rubbing two words together to make that interesting. And you can find, because the other advice I was given when I was a young staff writer, was that, a song could be any three words. Find three words that rub together, make you interested, and then figure out a way to sustain those three words over a song. So all those things, I know some people say traveling and all that sort of thing. If you got the bread, I suppose you can go traveling. But I think that what is the most for me has always been to work and to stay very present with my guitar or whatever instrument I'm playing at the time, and try to work and play as much. But I like playing. I like playing live, and I like playing solo acoustic. So that's been beneficial. I think all of those things are good, and and as I said earlier, I hope it bears repeating, but you do need to give yourself that time every day to create. And it should be better. It's best if it's going to be alone, and just go to your room or whatever you have, and spend that time by yourself. And if it's driving you crazy and you can't figure out anything, stay alone for that 60 minutes anyways, and read a book or meditate or something. But you have to get used to being alone for that period of time. Hope that
So
makes sense.
that does make sense. Do you think you have like any idea what the people want? Because I'm wondering, like for myself, I feel like when I'm writing songs, I'm like, well, I like this. I just have no idea if anybody else will like this. And I was listening to this interview that Billie Eilish did actually, and she's like, I have no idea what people like. I thought they would hate this song, they loved it. I thought they would love this song, they hated it. What do you think about that?
Well, I think she's probably right. That's certainly working for her right now, isn't it? I think you're probably right. You like what you like, and that's what you're going to produce the best. So keep going forward. The only time, I know you touched on this earlier about feeling maybe selling out or not being your true creative force. The only time that'll come to any time it would be a real problem is if you were successful. And if you were successful and all of a sudden they asked you to do something that you were just so opposed to, but they dangled a bag of cash in front of you. I don't know. I mean, I hope you get to that place, because I'd like to see that that's a great success. And then you'll make your choice. And whatever choice you make, you'll survive and you'll be fine. Anybody will be fine. But that would be a nice uptown problem.
All right, speaking about a bag of cash. How did you learn to trust the value, money or otherwise, of the music that you were making?
Oh, how did I learn to trust the value of the music I was making?
Yeah.
Well, that's a tough one. And, everybody talks about when they were first got together and they make their success. I mean, I'm not talking about a national success or world success or anything, but just even in your hometown, where you can afford to take yourself out for breakfast and lunch and kind of hang out and play music at night. That may have been that was probably some of the happiest times of the band's career, to just be that, to be that simple. All we thought about was writing songs or playing music and having fun, a lot of fun. Didn't think about the cash, and then we had some success and made some money, and I think it was it threw everybody for a little bit that there was some money around. But life changes and people get old, people grow up and they get married and take on responsibilities and have children. So you just kind of get used to it, because you know how hard you have to work to actually make it.
Yes, definitely. I think this is a very important question for many musicians who just start performing and gigging, because even to me, it feels very awkward to negotiate the price for the gig, for example, because for some reason you have this idea that it's just a performance. It's not a, extremely hard work, or sometimes you doubt your level of preparation or the skill. So it's just hard to start this conversation when it comes to money. Do you have any advice for those who just, start diving into gigging in the city, for example, how to feel confident and comfortable speaking about money?
Well, it's not easy, is it? It's a difficult thing. And invariably you're going to start out undervaluing yourself, and you're not going to ask for the money you probably deserve to work. But I think when you're first starting, I think it's probably safe to just go ahead and accept the money they offer you to play. So if they're going to offer you $75 to play for a couple hours, take the 75 and enjoy it. Maybe they give you a free drink and a sandwich at the end too. And that's because it's really not about the bread, it's about the experience. It's about the confidence it's going to grow in you, having completed a 2-hour show or a 1-hour show or 5-10 minutes. So you even just go play an open mic and you play for 10 minutes. You walk away feeling better and more confident about yourself because you did your job.
So back to, did you ask this one?
You can ask this one.
Back to building a band. What like barriers did you encounter with the band? Like, did you have many conflicts with the band about dedication levels, or like any other blocks that you had being in a band?
I mean, there was never any dedication levels because we all met at the time when it was do or die at that point. We were old enough that it was like time, if we were going to make it happen, it was going to be now. So everyone was completely dedicated to working very hard. And it was the right group of people. But the struggles are that personalities in a band, so you have to make sure you want to try and get along and be patient with each other.
I've got a dip, but thank you so much for this conversation. Yelena is going to take it over. She's going to do
All right.
amazing.
Take care. Have
thank
fun.
you. Thanks.
See you soon.
All right. Let's continue the conversation. All right, what are some tips you have for others trying to develop value as musicians and creatives?
Well, just treat it as it's as important as anything you're gonna do in your day. So give it the respects it deserves, and practice if you're a singer, practice your scales and sing for at least 15-20 minutes a day, even if you don't have a performance. Go back to your house, sing in the shower, whatever it is, and try to write every day, especially during these young early years. the formative years, it's best to try and do it as much as you possibly can, and stay active with other people. You can't hold up too. You have to go out and experience life, and you have to have joy and friendship. You need the camaraderie of other people, like-minded people who are doing the same thing. Otherwise, it's going to seem like an impossible task, and you'll never do it. You need to share all the shame and the embarrassment and the joy of everything you're doing with people, like I say, like-minded folks.
Yes, that's true, because it feels like I started popular music program at the beginning of this year, in August, and I've learned so much about collaboration with other people, and now I find so much joy in just sometimes sitting and talking, and sometimes about not related to music topics, because it feels like you build the connections and it opens the doors for you, it opens opportunities, and also sometimes, as you said before, people inspire you, and
Right.
you find something interesting about someone's personality or approach to life. So I feel like, yes, definitely interpersonal skills and relationships are very important, and it's a very enriching experience for everyone to work on this, community around you.
So that's been your experience. You got here and you realize you're around all these other people who really have the same idea that you do, and it's brought you to a place where you feel free to have these conversations.
Absolutely, yes, because before that, I think I was afraid that maybe people might be competitive, right? Because, well, it's a creative field, but still there is a place for competition just as any other field. But it feels like I found so many people who share my ideas and support me and want to see me succeeding. And I want the same for them. So this is just a very healthy environment for, creativity and inspiration. So I love that.
That's, uh, in my limited time here, I spent a couple last month and this week here. I've noticed that this community of artists is very supportive of each other, and it's nice to see. I mean, there's still a sense of competition because people really want to do their best work, but you guys are using it in a positive way, and you do support each other and care. But at the same time, you can see that, oh, I wanna kick ass too, and that's how it was for the Gin Blossoms too. You know, it's a competitive world, and bands are no different than that. So you really have to, if you can, I mean, you're young. When you're young, it's difficult to be patient. And me talking to you about patience, anyone when they're young about patience is you're only gonna hear so much of it. You have to go through the experience yourself. But if you could possibly give yourself a beat every once in a while and relax before you speak, and not be angry, and try to think of it as opportunities, then I think you're better off. But I will tell you this, being involved in this little community here at ASU, it's pretty amazing how you guys all rally around each other in support for ideas and songs.
Yes, I love that. As a musician, what are some general skills that are not specific to playing music that you've learned over the years that have helped your career?
There's as road musicians, I'm on the road quite a bit, and I always have been for years and years. And a lot of guys say a big part of success being a musician on the road is that you have to be able to you need to be pleasant, and you need to be amenable and patient, and you want to be the guy that who people want to have lunch with every day, right? Because it just means as much as we are in our own thoughts all the time, um, it, make a point of asking somebody else how they're doing, uh, and just be pleasant. It goes a long ways because they're gonna appreciate it. And when you're a musician and you're working on the road for weeks on end, sometimes months, you can imagine how sad you may be at times and how lonely for your home and your family you could be. And the other person is too. So be open to conversations and try to be pleasant. I haven't always done it, but I try to. And my mother used to say, always make sure you say good morning to everyone.
This is a great advice, definitely. Well, since we're talking about relationship in the band, there are a lot of different personalities and all people are different, they have different perspectives. So how do you manage conflict when it arises?
Well, it's going to arise and it's going to be problematic. I think it's best not to yell. And I think that for me, I mean, we've all had to go head to head on things that were really important issues. I think that you have to pick and choose your battles. That's the best I can say. If something is that important to you that you think you need to bring it up and it needs to resolution and it needs conversation, then you should do it. But I do think you don't want to do it on every issue. You just don't want to live that kind of life. You don't want to be in constant conflict and you don't want to be living that kind of drag. So got to let a lot of things slide. And remember, does it really affect you that much? And is everything about, I have to think, sometimes I think, is this really about me? Do I have to care? Or do I really have to weigh in with my opinion right now? Or can I just be quiet and let it go? So I think those are good ideas, and be respectful of someone else's passion. If somebody really feels strongly about something, you got to give them the space to have the idea out and to talk about it.
Yes, I think it's a generally pretty good advice when it comes to any social interaction, that it's pretty good to be empathetic. Exactly. And evaluate, maybe being self-aware and evaluate what is your position. Yes, and definitely is it so necessary for actually to fight for it with someone. So yes, that's a good position.
Right. And you can make a case for your idea, and it doesn't have to become volatile. And you gotta learn to let some things go. But the thing with bands is that it's a friendship as well as a business. So you have to learn to be gingerly cross some of these avenues.
That's true. Yeah. The music industry has changed a lot during your career. So how has the industry changed? And were those the good changes or the bad changes? What is your opinion?
Well, it's changed a lot, as you say. And when we came up, there was just a traditional built business model, which was that you signed a record deal and they gave you this chunk of money and paid for a record and distributed to see if something happened. And records cost so much money to make. So it was just the only avenue to do that. Well, that's all gone away because there are no record companies like that so much anymore. But what has happened, which is cool, is that people can make hit records in their living room, in their bedroom with computer, and it doesn't cost the same. The costs are not the same. to make a really beautiful track anymore. And there are big hits on the radio that were made in somebody's studio apartment. So that's a good thing. I feel bad for the young people, for you guys, because there isn't a real avenue to pursue it. That you guys have created your own way. So and I'm admire very much how much you guys take upon yourself to make your music, to record and produce yourself without the benefit of a very expensive record producer and a very expensive recording studio. So you guys independently make your own music, and then you find ways to put the music out there. And then the business has changed, so I guess it goes through Spotify, and if a track gets on a playlist and the playlist takes off, then you have yourself a nice piece of work going. And then I guess the labels come looking to see if you want to sign up with them. So I like the independence that you guys have, but I think that it's definitely much harder for you guys than it was for us.
Thank you so much. Let me see if we have any questions in the chat. All right, we have one question right here. How do you handle pressure from the record label to deliver a song last minute? I've heard numerous times A&M wanted you guys to do another song for congratulations, I'm sorry, after record was done, and Follow You Down came about from this situation.
Kind of true, but Follow You Down, I had sort of already written while I was in the studio, so it kind of existed. And there was no pressure from A&M. They just said, if you have more songs, now's the time to bring them out and re-record them. And that's what happened. It wasn't quite as dramatic as it would seem. Although if it was a movie, they would make it real pressure filled.
Well, hopefully there will be a movie one day. That would be amazing.
I hope not. I hope not.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Please, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat and we will take care of them. Let's see if we have anything going on here.
And it looks like we're wrapping things up, but thank you so much, Yelena, for kind of hosting and co-hosting this conversation.
Thank you, Elena. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and thank you, Jesse, for sharing your perspective.
Lauren.
We're so grateful to have you be part of our ASU experience this year and provide your expertise, both as it relates to music, but also just how you build a business and kind of maintain those opportunities over time. I know you kind of mentioned that things might be harder now than when you started, but so much of the lessons learned are really universal opportunities to think about what it means to just start, which is something we really encourage everyone to do here at Edson E+I. So wherever you are, whatever those goals are, we encourage you and hope that it was a meaningful experience. But thank you so much for being part of the conversation today, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.